Welcome to Gardener's Growplace, with tips to help you be more successful in your house, yard, and garden. Here's the host of Gardener's Growplace, Henere.
Welcome to Gardener's Growplace. Today we have another great show lined up for you. Our summer landscapes burst with color, but we need to start thinking about fall colors. We need to think about some of the containers that we want to revive. Maybe some of the summer annuals have sort of died out. We want to replace those with some fall colors, maybe some hardy garden mums, maybe a few pansies. Also those window boxes that have the tired summer colors in them, we need to replace some of those too. On today's show, we're going to step by step show you how you can turn your summer planters into some fall magic. We'll be right back for more of Gardener's Growplace.
Visit Gifts and Collectibles at the Colonial Heights Pharmacy for our region's best selection of every collectible you can imagine. The Gifts and Collectibles showroom boasts wonderful names such as Swarovski, Buyer's Choice, Christopher Radko Department 56, and many more of the most respected brands in the world of collectibles. Come by and fill your world with the gifts you love, or present the ones you love with art, beauty, and elegance from Gifts and Collectibles in Colonial Heights.
Enjoy beautiful fall color and plenty of shade every summer with the huge shipment of shade trees now in stock at Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace. Choose from high-quality maples, flowering pears, clump birches, sweet gums, weeping willows, pin oaks, and many more. These 6 to 8 foot shade trees are guaranteed to grow, starting at just $29.99. Get Evergreen's extended 18-month warranty free with your purchase of root stimulator and planting mix to get your tree started right. Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace now in 4 locations: Kingsport, Colonial Heights, Bristol, and on the web at egardenplace.com. October 14th is Kids Carnival Day at Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace in Kingsport and Bristol. Admission for everyone is a canned food item. All items donated to area food banks. There'll be balloon breaking, pie tossing, pumpkin painting, pansy planting, to take home face painting, and much more. Adults will have fun too with bingo games where everyone wins while the kids are having their fun. Be sure to come and dunk the Dutchman and others at the Dunk Tank in Kingsport. It's Kids Carnival Day at the Kingsport and Bristol locations of Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace, also in Colonial Heights and on the web at egardenplace.com. Come to Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace for colorful pansy power. Choose the really big, majestic giants for blooms up to 4 inches across. How about Evergreen's all-time favorite, bingo pansies with a garden full of bright pansy faces? Or cheerful violas or Johnny jump-ups, just like in Grandma's country garden. And the all-new baby bingos that combine bingo's faces with viola's hardiness. Feed them with Fertilome rooting and blooming mix for color this fall, winter, and spring, too. It's pansy power for 3 seasons of color from Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace.
Welcome back to Gardener's Growplace. Just look at all the color behind me. A red-leaf Japanese maple, have some nannies in the background, some spruce. Look at all the herbs. But they're basically sort of the same shades of green. And what we're going to do is show you how to take some hardy garden mums and add some yellows and some reds to it. And in no time, I'm going to get a whole different splash of color. Let's first take a look at some of the herbs that are in some of the planters. Let's look at some of the colors that I get from not only the foliage but the blooms on the garden herbs that I have in these containers. I first have some garden chives here. We can continue to harvest this throughout the late summer and the fall season easily. Some herbs that we use in the planter are really for their color, for their attractiveness, not really for harvesting them in our kitchen uses. This is some calamint. Look how pretty that bloom is, that purple. It's just so soft, it really adds to all the other herbs that are in here. In the background I have some rosemary. When you're harvesting rosemary, it's easy to go through and just clip off about 3 or 4 inches, and that's about the amount that you want to use when you're actually cooking in the kitchen. There's some of it that is trailing, a ground cover creeping roseberry, and then the taller one that's in the background. Now this is beautiful. Look at that lavender. Even used as a landscape plant, whether you're going to be using it for cooking or for spicing uses, look at the colors. Look at that blue. What a pretty spike. And soft. And just to go by and brush up and get a little bit of that oil on your fingers, smells great. Got some tricolor sage here. Again, this is not used so much for cooking, even though you still could, but it's great to just have to add that different color mix in this container. And the golden oregano, look how that trails down. Beautiful. And these were just planted in early spring season, so these have only been planted about 6 months. Just think what that would look like if we added some of the yellows and reds, some of the fall colors. I've chosen some hardy garden mums, and by simply putting one plant in the center there, and I'm going to make room for that one right there, just think what a difference that's going to make when I get those planted. We're going to lower them just a little bit, how much color that's going to add and how that changes that to a fall tone rather than to a summer tone. Let me take these out first. I think I'm going to take my pruners and I'm going to do a little bit of trimming on this one to sort of make a little bit of room. I'm going to trim some of this oregano back. If you want to harvest this so that you're able to dry it, you can do that too, but I'm going to just sort of set this aside for a few minutes. The chives that are here, I'm going to sort of trim this up just a little bit. Just grab the whole top of it, and I'm just going to tip off the ends because I get a little bit of browning on there. That looks a little bit better. I'm not going to do anything to those purple blooms. Those are great right there. I have enough room right here to go ahead and plant something. I'm going to dig, let's move that label out of the way. The soil is pretty soft already. I just dig that up. It's so much easier when you're planting in containers because your soil is great. I'm going to set some of this aside. Set a little bit more of that out, enough to make room for the plant that I'm going to put in here. Hardy garden mums can be purchased at many good garden centers. They're used in the fall season more now, I think, for their fall color, more so than their hardiness, even though they will come back up year after year. When you take these out of the containers, they've possibly been growing more than 8 to 10 weeks in a nursery somewhere, and they get quite root bound, so sort of scuff up the roots just a little bit. A lot of times they're going to be dry because it's going to be 6 hours or maybe 8 hours since you were at that garden center and you selected them. Who knows, it may have been a couple hours since they even got them watered. Take a 5-gallon bucket and just saturate the whole root system. You can just see it bubble there. By doing that, that's going to make sure that I get that root mass totally saturated, and it's going to be a long time before that's going to dry out. If I simply planted it like it was, then if I didn't water it enough, then I'm going to get this mum to dry out. I'm going to set this right in there. And because we're going to be doing this really as some temporary fall color, don't worry about sort of scrunching the root system up a little bit because we're just using it for that short time anyway. It's going to bloom maybe 5 to 6 weeks in the fall season, but once I get this much color in it, I only have about maybe 2 or 3 more weeks that these larger blooms are going to stay in color. I'm going to do the same thing to this one over here. Let's look at what we have here. Probably going to have to do a little bit more trimming. I'm going to need to make a little bit more room in this one to make space for that mum. I'm going to cut these oreganos back just a little bit. Move some of the rosemary and some of the lavender that's back here. It smells great. And a little bit of the tricolor sage. Move that out of the way. And I have plenty of room to put my other mum in there. Sort of dig my space out here. When you're putting fall color or just adding something to a planter that's only going to be there a short time, you don't need to spend as much effort on putting additional fertilizers in there. Sometimes we use some of the time release fertilizers, but in this case I'm not going to have to do that. I'm going to sort of make sure we drown that one a little bit too. Bubble that one up. Let's put these few mums in, see what a difference that makes. Look what a difference just adding a little bit of yellow and a little bit of red to the herb containers. It makes you feel like fall, it makes it look like fall. We'll be right back for more of Gardener's Grow Place.
Your wedding should be a very special time. Don't let the hassles of planning it take that away. Action Rentals can take care of all of your wedding rental needs. We've got everything from fountains to table settings to ice bowls. And if it's an outdoor wedding you want, don't worry about rain. We've got tents that can accommodate any size guest list. And while you're there, be sure you and your fiancé check out all of our equipment rentals for after the honeymoon. Everything you need is at Action Reynolds, located at 1861 Northeastman Road in Kingsport.
When selling your home, you want it to look its very best. You also want the very best realtors at your side, Tom and Marilyn Adams. The Adams will assist you from start to finish. They process both buying and selling, and they'll even help with relocation from outside the area. As agents for buyers and sellers, their MLS membership allows them to work with any residents or business in the region. Having lived here all their lives, the Adams are familiar with the Tennessee-Virginia region. So if you're buying or selling, contact Tom and Marilyn Adams. They're not just agents, they're realtors. Enjoy beautiful fall color and plenty of shade every summer with the huge shipment of shade trees now in stock at Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace. Choose from high-quality maples, flowering pears, clump birches, sweet gums, weeping willows, pin oaks, and many more. These 6 to 8 foot shade trees are guaranteed to grow, starting at just $29.99. Get Evergreen's extended 18-month warranty free with your purchase of root stimulator and planting mix to get your tree started right. Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace now in 4 locations: Kingsport, Colonial Heights, Bristol, and on the web at egardenplace.com. October 14th is Kids Carnival Day at Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace in Kingsport and Bristol. Admission for everyone is a canned food item. All items donated to area food banks. There'll be balloon breaking, pie tossing, pumpkin painting, pansy planting, to take home face painting, and much more. Adults will have fun too with bingo games where everyone wins while the kids are having their fun. Be sure to come and dunk the Dutchman and others at the Dunk Tank in Kingsport. It's Kids Carnival Day at the Kingsport and Bristol locations of Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace, also in Colonial Heights and on the web at egardenplace.com.
Welcome back to Gardener's Growplace. We put mums in the herb containers. In a few minutes we're going to look at a window box planter and change from those summer colors of blue Torrini to something else. But I want to show you a container that I have outside that looks great now, but as soon as I get my first hard killing frost, and that doesn't matter where you are, that's not going to survive that cool temperature. So I'm going to want to take this hibiscus out. If you dig this up and you put it in a container and you move it inside and protect it from any kind of cold weather, you can probably keep this alive for next year, but it's not going to look pretty inside, so I would not try to use it as an indoor foliage plant. I'm going to replace this one with a couple of choices of plants. I already have one that's done. Let me show you how easy it is to move from this planting to a fall planting. I have a mixture of foxtail grass. I have some majestic giant pansies. I left my glacier ivy in here because it's going to be hardy all winter. Have a fall mum in the background. Now when I have those cool seasons of fall, I'm not going to have any damage to my plants. I'm going to have fall colors on into November or even December. The hardy red hibiscus still look good in the container, unlike the Torinias that we have in this window planter. These are the summer wave proven winter, but it has very few blooms on it, and the upright Torrini in the center, well, you can tell it's just about had its days. So we're going to be taking these out and planting some of the other plants that are in there. But you know, we don't have to choose just mums and pansies. We're going to use a little bit of ornamental grass. We might mix in some hardy ivy. You know, you can go out into the nursery and you can use plants that you wouldn't think of as a window box or a patio box plant. Choose some Nandina. You've got some great colors in some of the dwarf Nandinas. Even Lirio, variegated or green, make great plants to put in some of the window boxes. I'm going to take these plants out. We're going to select some of the plants to go in this window box, and we'll have a fall palette of colors in this planter. In a planter like this, there's not going to be a whole lot of soil, so I don't really have that much of a root system established. And many times you're just planting these in here to get you some nice, good color. They do take a little extra water. I'm going to take all of these out. I have some of the Goldilocks Lizamaki on the side, and even though I think that's still, well, let's see here. You know what? I think I'm going to leave that in there. That will give me a good trailer down the side. I can clean up a few of those, that foliage there, and I can do a little bit of trimming like that. And on the other side, I think I'm going to do the same thing. I can leave this in there, trim it off just a little bit. A pair of pruners would be handy too, but now they're pretty easy to do that way. I'm going to dig that soil up just a little bit and then go make my selection. Be right back. With just a little bit of creativity, a lot of imagination, and a few plants, look what an old worn out summer window box can turn into. Looks gorgeous.
Old-fashioned service for your modern world. Bill Bachman Toyota.
October 14th is Kids Carnival Day at Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace in Kingsport and Bristol. Admission for everyone is a canned food item. All items donated to area food banks. There'll be balloon breaking, pie tossing, pumpkin painting, pansy planting, to take home face painting, and much more. Adults will have fun too with bingo games where everyone wins while the kids are having their fun. Be sure to come and dunk the Dutchman and others at the Dunk Tank in Kingsport. It's Kids Carnival Day at the Kingsport and Bristol locations of Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace. Also in Colonial Heights and on the web at egardenplace.com.
Visit Gifts and Collectibles at the Colonial Heights Pharmacy for our region's best selection of every collectible you can imagine. The Gifts and Collectibles showroom boasts wonderful names such as Swarovski, Buyer's Choice, Christopher Radko, Department 56, and many more of the most respected brands in the world of collectibles. Come by and fill your world with the gifts you love, or present the ones you love with art, beauty, and elegance from Gifts and Collectibles in Colonial Heights.
Come to Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace for colorful pansy power. Choose the really big, majestic giants for blooms up to 4 inches across. How about Evergreen's all-time favorite, bingo pansies with a garden full of bright pansy faces? Or cheerful violas or Johnny jump-ups just like in Grandma's country garden. And the all-new baby bingos that combine bingo's faces with viola's hardiness. Feed them with Fertilome rooting and blooming mix for color this fall, winter, and spring too. It's pansy power for 3 seasons of color from Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace.
Welcome back to Gardener's Growplace. During the fall season, we always think about trimming and fertilizing our trees and shrubs. It's a great time to do it, but there's also a correct time to do it. Think about when your frost date is. If your heavy freeze date or frost date is going to be the 1st of October, you're going to want to do your pruning and your fertilizing 6 weeks before that. Fertilizing and pruning both stimulate root growth and also breaks in the top foliage. And what you don't want is a lot of new foliage up here growing too fast when that hard freeze comes and knocks that back. This is a variegated English holly. There are a few berries that are on here now. Those are going to turn bright red by the winter time. I don't have really that much pruning to do, but on this one, where this branch is actually growing across the grain, I'm going to want to go in there and selectively prune that one. And I have another branch that's right there, and I'm going to prune that one out just a little bit, maybe right there. I'm going to trim this one back a little bit because I want to sort of promote that pyramidal growing shape. I'm going to trim this one out just a little bit, maybe right there, right above that break. And on this one, I'm going to cut these top branches off to sort of give me more of a point on the top there. You can see the pyramidal shape that I'm trying to achieve back up and down this way, and then next spring when my new growth comes out, it's going to fill out in this center. We also need to do fertilizing. You can get a good tree and shrub fertilizer, and if you broadcast that around the base, most bags are going to tell you to apply so many pounds per 1 inch height of plant. So this plant is going to be about 4 or 5 feet tall. Read the directions no matter what type of fertilizer you get. Any of your good quality fertilizer that you can buy at your garden centers are going to be better than a 10-10-10 or a 6-12-12 fertilizer because of the different type of micronutrients that are in there, as well as your basic nitrogen, potassium, and phosphorus. You can just apply this to the top of the ground, and when you get some natural rains or a water hose and water it, it will naturally go through the root system and be absorbed. But remember, you want to do this 6 weeks before your frost date or 6 weeks after your frost or your freeze date.
Enjoy beautiful fall color and plenty of shade every summer with the huge shipment of shade trees now in stock at Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace. Choose from high-quality maples, flowering pears, clump birches, sweet gums, weeping willows, pin oaks, and many more. These 6 to 8 foot shade trees are guaranteed to grow, starting at just $29.99. Get Evergreen's extended 18-month warranty free with your purchase of root stimulator and planting mix to get your tree started right. Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace now in 4 locations: Kingsport, Colonial Heights, Bristol, and on the web at egardenplace.com. October 14th is Kids Carnival Day at Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace in Kingsport and Bristol. Admission for everyone is a canned food item. All items donated to area food banks. There'll be balloon breaking, pie tossing, pumpkin painting, pansy planting, to take home face painting, and much more. Adults will have fun too with bingo games where everyone wins while the kids are having their fun. Be sure to come and dunk the Dutchman and others at the Dunk Tank in Kingsport. It's Kids Carnival Day at the Kingsport and Bristol locations of Evergreen Home and Garden Showplace. Also in Colonial Heights and on the web at egardenplace.com.
Welcome back to Gardener's Growplace. Earlier we looked at that summer transition into fall by planting some containers that we had some summertime plants in. Now we've moved some fall time plants in them and some window boxes. But you can also find a lot of real nice containers, maybe at a crafts fair, some kind of a little roadside market. Look at this nice wooden container that they made in the Appalachian Mountains. Use some grapevine wreath as a handle. No, you're not going to be able to pick it up and carry it, but look what a nice little basket it makes, that visual effect. These are just pieces of wooden plank that they've cut, and they've taken some of the grapevine and put over top of it and made some little ornaments on the front side. We have some pansies in here and some tricolor ajuga. I'm going to show you how to take one of these empty planters, put some soil in it, and make your own creation. Let me show you how easy it is to get to this type of a planter. Each of these wooden containers is going to be a little different. They don't make them from the same piece of wood. Look how much heavier and more sturdy this grapevine handle is on this basket. I was talking about the grapevine that goes across the top underneath the moss. They just simply take it and sort of staple these in. Makes a nice little design. But we have plenty of soil. That's going to be about maybe 14 inches across. By the time we put some soil in there, I can grow a lot of good plants in there. First, we have to start with a good well-drained soil. You don't want to skimp on that, because in this planter, we're probably going to be able to switch this out maybe next year, next spring season, to put something else in there. So let's take this soil and put in here first. Let me just sort of dump it in. That's a good rich soil, some on the other side. This does not have any fertilizers in it, because you're going to want to add those little by little. I'm going to leave a little bit out because the soil that are going to be in each of these plants is going to take up some of the space. Okay, we want to use our center plants first, so I'm going to just space these in here without actually planting them. This is a variegated mum. We can actually use this one in there if you would like. I've also chosen a yellow one. If you want to put some color in it a little earlier, I think I want the color in here right now. I'm going to put that one in the center. I have a variegated Acorus grass. That's going to give me a nice, good fall color. And I'm going to put that one in the center too. I'm going to set that mum over to the side a little bit. Now, I had 2 different types of ajugas. There is a mahogany ajuga. You can see how it's going to trail over. Yeah, this is the same kind of ground cover plant that has a real pretty purple spike in the spring season in your landscape, but that doesn't mean you can't use it inside a container. You can take one of these out. I'm going to put that just in the corner. Looks like I'm going to need a little bit of dirt on top. Hang that one over. And there is a tricolor ajuga that has a little different foliage to it. See how dark, rich green that one is? This one has all the new growth with a bright red color, but then it reverts back to more of a green and white in the center. And I'm going to put that one on the other side. Before we start planting, I want to show you some of the different bloom sizes in the pansies that are going to be available in garden centers where you're shopping. These are some of the new violas. I think this is a penny series, but we refer to those as Johnny Jump Ups. Those come up in our grandmother's gardens year after year, even the same plant as well as reseeding, but the blooms are smaller. This is a new variety that has come out this is actually the first year. These are referred to as baby bingos, a little bit bigger size than the violas, but we still have the hardiness and the continuing blooms on into late May and June. And then you come up to your larger pansies. This is a bingo series. There's also a Delta series, some majestic giants, some of the larger blooms that are going to get probably 3 inches wide in diameter. So the baby bingos are almost a cross in size between your violas and your normal pansies. So when you're checking your garden centers, you have different bloom size, and the smaller the bloom size, normally the longer it lasts throughout the spring season on into summertime. Now let's get started planting. I want to put a little bit of color in the front. I think I'm going to use that one in the middle. That's my blue baby bingo. I'm just setting these down in pots for the time being. I'll take those out in just a minute. I have some flowering cabbage. This is the red flowering cabbage. This one actually is called Dynasty. I'm going to have to leave a little bit more room for this one, so I'm going to put it in the back side, but I'm not going to try to put it too close to some of the other plants because it's going to get some size to it. And I have a little bit more space in the back. I think I'll take 2 of these yellow pansies there, and I want to bring some more of this same blue color. So I'm going to put 1 more of these blue ones on this side. Let me turn this around so you can get a view of the back side. Now that I've turned that around, I think you'll have a better view of the back side, and you can turn this either way that you want to. I talked about this red cabbage. It's going to require a little bit more room, so the pansy that I put in there, I'm going to take it out because I'm not going to have enough room if I leave that one in there too. This cabbage is going to turn its best color. You're going to get a coloring in the very center when you start getting some nighttime temperatures down in the lower 30s. As long as it's in the 40s, then you're going to get that plant to get bigger and bigger, but you want to get that real bright color, and that's going to give us one of our most interesting plants in this planting, but that's going to be almost in November. But in December, when you get a real hard killing freeze, when you get down into the lower 20s or even into the teens, then you can remove this plant and then go purchase another pansy, stick in there, or take a couple of branches of magnolia or holly with red berries. That'll be attractive during that holiday season too. Now that I have these spaced in here, you see I have my tall mum, and when each of these blooms sort of blooms out, don't hesitate to remove that bloom that has bloomed out. That will allow more sunlight to come into these buds and make sure that they open up also. So I have my ajuga on both sides that are going to trail over. I have my pretty grass that's going to give me my fall color, and my pansies and my mums and my cabbage. Now that I have them spaced out correctly, I'm going to take them out of the pot, put them in the soil, and we'll sit back and view what a nice pretty mountain homemade crafted planter we have to put on our front porch.
Gardener's Growplace is a Harris Television production.